Alright, let's see what's topics on the docket for today. Is Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez a sellout? Alright, there's a lot of stuff we need to unpack here. First things first, Jimmy Dore. Jimmy Dore used to work for the Young Turks. They're a progressive news network that operates mostly online, although they're on some more obscure satellite channels. Jimmy Dore became disenchanted with the network and the things that he was being asked to tell people when Bernie Sanders got the nomination stolen from him. The first time. If you wanted to frame him in a purposely reductive and vaguely amusing way, you could say that he's a shittier Dave Rubin for Bernie Bros. Also important to know for this conversation is that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is a member of the House of Representatives representing New York. I'm not sure offhand what district. She is very popular, especially amongst young people, at least in part because she has a habit of appearing on trans charity live streams, for example. Also worth noting is that she was scouted and backed by Indivisible, a group that works politically here in the United States. Their thing is complicated, we'll talk about them more later. So, now that we have all that out of the way, let's talk about what's going on. Jimmy Dore got this bright idea in his head that you could have the progressive wing of the Democratic Party in the House of Representatives threaten to withhold their votes to confirm Nancy Pelosi as the Speaker for the House of Representatives, unless Nancy Pelosi agreed to have a floor vote on a Medicare for All proposal. Now, the purpose of this would not be to pass a Medicare for All bill. That is simply something that is not feasible in the current House of Representatives, let alone in the Senate. Which, good on them, I guess, for having realistic expectations for Medicare for All. Like, I'm not bullshitting. That is the most positive thing I have to say about this clusterfuck. The purpose, instead, would be to hold people accountable for campaigning on Medicare for All. If you have a vote, you expect people who campaigned on that policy to vote on it. So the plan is not to get people to do the thing. The plan is to get people to say that they would be open to doing the thing. Because that's how democracy works. So I guess I should start about the positives regarding this harebrained scheme. It looks good on paper. Like, if you take out your copy of the Pocket Constitution... Is that upside down? If you get out your Pocket Constitution, flip it open to Section 1, and read about what Congress does and does not have the power to do, it seems like it would work. Regular people should expect their elected representatives to do things that work in their favor. Moreover, a lot of states, not all of them, but a lot of them, have laws in place that allow you to recall elected officials if they're doing a bad job. Hypothetically, you could use a vote like this to force the hand of enough people in Congress to get the vote through Congress. Hypothetically. Hypothetically. In practice, this plan is garbage, and the people advocating for it have no idea how Congress works. By way of example, remember when I mentioned the Constitution? Yeah, those aren't the rules that Congress follows. That's a bit of an exaggeration. It's more accurate to say that it's not the only rules that Congress has to follow. The brilliant thing about the Constitution is that it is a framework that you fill in with whatever processes you need at the time. And lawmakers have filled it in with hundreds of years' worth of nonsense. There are tens of thousands of rules about how you have to present yourself, how you have to present your arguments, how you have to present a bill, and how you have to treat other members of Congress. And that's just the rules in Congress. Both parties have all kinds of rules about how they treat people both in and out of their party. Granted, these things are not laws, they are just rules. They are a social contract. But both parties use this social contract to maintain power both in Congress and in their party. Breaking this social contract can have very dire repercussions, no matter how popular you are ostensibly. Ask the racist shitweasel Steve King about that sometime. If you don't abide by the rules that your party and your Congress has set up, then you are going to be prohibited from speaking on the floor, you are going to be prohibited from proposing bills, you are going to be prohibited from joining committees, and you are going to be prohibited from even in basic intelligence. And if you're not doing any of those things, then you're not doing anything in Congress. What I'm saying is that this plan requires us to have some semblance of a functioning democracy. And we do not have that. I also feel compelled to mention that this plan is bound to fail from the outset because the leaders of both parties hate regular people. I know I said this in my last video, but they think that you're fucking your cousins. And no, I'm not going to let that go, because it really nails in the contempt that they have for you. Nancy Pelosi is not going to agree to this, because Nancy Pelosi does not care about regular people. At most, she cares about maintaining her image as an efficient lawmaker. So, having gone into all that, having explained all of that, I think that there's another thing that we need to have in mind, that we need to bear in mind when we're having this conversation. I explained yesterday, how my experience with the leadership of both political parties is that they hate you. They hate regular people. But what I don't think I made clear enough is that I was talking exclusively about the leadership of these parties. Because here's the thing, there's this distinct separation. You have the people on the top who hate people, and for every one of them, you have 20 or 30 people on the ground level trying as hard as they can to do good work. It's the people on the bottom, the unpaid volunteers and the interns and, on some level, secretaries, who are going out and talking to people and trying to come up with policy proposals that will actually help people. This is something both parties do, if only for the sake of image. They have people go out, sometimes door to door, and talk to people about the things that they need and the things that they expect from their elected representatives. And then they go back to party headquarters and say that the people they talked to wanted this and this and this. They wanted Medicare for all. They wanted an end to the Patriot Act. They wanted you to end corporate lobbying, you sycophantic fucks! And every time the party leadership looks at these proposals and says, wow, these are great ideas. We're not going to do any of this shit. And then the party does the same thing they always do, and they lose and they win the same elections they always lose and win. And then these unpaid volunteers and interns have to go out and face the brunt of the aggression from these people who they promised they were trying to help. Because you know the party leaders don't want to deal with that shit. I cannot count the people I know who have lived through some level of that story. And it leads to mass disengagement. It leads to really, really fast burnout. Because if nobody's listening to you, what are you even there for? One of the reasons that I keep talking up Indivisible is because they were formed by a bunch of people who went through that story and decided it was bullshit and that things needed to change. I don't agree with everything that they do. I don't agree with all of their proposals or all of their means, but ultimately, I'm on their side and they're on my side, because we're both working to make things better. And here's the thing, right? I feel like a lot of the reason that people are zeroing in on Congresswoman Cortez is because she makes herself available to the public in a way that a lot of congresspeople and a lot of senators would not even dare to. There is a congressperson who has an office 6 blocks from where I live, and I have not once seen him in my life. And because people know that she's available, because people understand that she listens, people vent their frustrations at her. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that your frustration is invalid. I'm not going to tell you that you shouldn't be angry at Congress or the Senate or the government. Again, they hate you. What I'm saying is that it might be better to vent your frustrations on people who actually deserve it. Your congressperson has an office. Go there and bang on the door until they let you in. And maybe, just maybe, stop giving people who are trying to make things better shit, because they're not doing exactly the things that you want. Oh, I'm so tired. Fuck this shit, I'm not doing it afterwards. Regular links are in the description. That's my Ko-Fi if you want to send me money to fix my computer. That's my Curious Cat that I don't have access to. That's my Twitter, where I'm spending too much time goofing off, quite frankly. I was browsing Twitter before filming this, and apparently Trump proposed a $2,000 stimulus bill, and people are standing Trump now, so I guess I'm gonna have to make a video about that shit! So yeah, until we get there, please, take care of yourselves, alright?